watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Crime, corruption, and criminal justice. AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, is shining a light on these topics here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in a luncheon that's looking at how these affect Jamaica's trade and investment potential. I'm Elon Parkinson. Let's take a look at the highlights.
One of the things that I realize is that having these forums, it provides us with an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. And all members should give your organization a round of applause. Put your hands together for it. For weeks, I was talking about business unusual. For weeks, that was the last one on the economy that you guys had. And I was in cocktail conversation sounding smarter than I am just by virtue of having been in the room. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm going to apologize for the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. He did intend to be here, but he was called at the last minute to Parliament. I believe he has a parliamentary committee that he must be at, so they've summoned him. The numbers are important in these committees to make quorum and to participate in discussions at Gordon House, so he won't be with us today. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, is here. Thank you very much for being here with us today, as is Dirk Harrison, the acting head of the Corruption Prosecution Division at the Integrity Commission. Always glad to have Professor Anthony Clayton, a respected criminologist, here with us today. Jason Fraser is the country rep of the USAID. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing their presentations later today. At this time, I'm going to invite Alison Peart, the president of AmCham of Jamaica, to give the official welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, we look so officious and so quiet. It's very, very important business, but I'm hoping today you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to leave here understanding more about some of the issues and, more importantly, with some solutions. Because it's one thing to speak about our issues, but if we don't find a solution, we're just a talk shop. And I love Nationwide on the radio, but we don't just want to talk. We want to come up with some solutions. So as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jamaica, we thought it very important. We talk about how wonderful the economy was. Our last session was business unusual. But if we have crime issues, if people don't feel, Jamaicans don't feel comfortable going about their daily lives, if our foreign investors don't feel comfortable, if our children, who are our future, have issues, where are we as a nation? So we thought it very important to bring together a panel that would engage in the dialogue about crime, corruption, criminal justice. How does it affect our trade and investment? Because it makes no sense to talk about our GDP growing or our debt to GDP if we're dying. It makes no sense if our future is tied to crime. So this dialogue is very, 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 very important, and I'm very happy you're here with us.
Okay, the question today is how much crime and corruption and a dysfunctional justice system are actually inhibiting the development of Jamaica and inward investment. Because we don't just have one problem, we have quite a complex array of problems. And it's quite hard to know how much we should attribute to any one of these and how much any one of these is contributing to what has historically been a very low rate of growth and significant difficulties in attracting inward investment and retaining domestic capital and retaining human capital. These are the headline ones. We have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. We have a large number, a significant number of gangs. About 80% of our homicide are gang-related. The rest are primarily domestic violence. So the fact that we have a large number of gangs is clearly a major factor in maintaining one of the world's highest levels of homicide. There are fundamental challenges still in our system of governance. As I'll be going on to say in a few minutes, we have people in public life who help to create this problem with gangs and high levels of violence, and that link has never been yet severed, and that is still a challenge that we have yet to face. What, of course, that does is it undermines the moral authority of government. If you have a situation where all the bad guys are out there and everybody in government is honest and competent, it's not really very difficult to deal with the problems of crime. The problem is when the boundaries between the two are blurred, and when you have criminals who are getting high-level political protection. At that point, it's much, much harder to deal with the issues. Of course, what that feeds is a culture of cynicism, low trust, and that has a great deal to do with sustaining a high level of violence. In any country where you see that people do not trust the police and do not trust the justice system, they're much more likely to have recourse to violence to solve their issues and disputes. So it's partly reflecting the fact that we've still got deep weaknesses in our system of governance. But let's put this in a little context. There's only one demographic for whom violence is the leading cause of premature morbidity, which is young males, late teens, early 20s. For every other demographic, it's actually cheeseburgers that are more likely to kill you. We've got issues with, like every other country, with steeply rising rates of non-communicable diseases. And we can't also forget the fact that we have perennial challenges with energy security, increasingly with water security, which is related, because years ago we made the decision that everybody must be on a piped water supply, which means that we're now committed to a program of pumping water up hillsides, which means that if our energy system goes down, our water system goes down too. In hindsight, perhaps that wasn't a very good decision. So we've got issues with energy, water security, and more generally food and access to resources. We live in a seismically active part of the world. We live in the hurricane belt. There's challenges with emerging exotic diseases, and of course we've got a background issue really serious now, as people have started to realize with climate change. You may have heard that this summer is the hottest ever recorded in Jamaica's history. And in fact, there is now real grounds for concern that we've gone past an irrevocable point, and that we will not ever revert back to the low temperatures of the past. So this is something that we may now have to make a permanent adjustment to.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
One of our highest priorities of the U.S. government in Jamaica is to work with our counterparts to interdict Jamaican and Caribbean-based transnational criminal activity, including narcotics and arms trafficking, trafficking in persons, and financial fraud targeting U.S. citizens. The U.S. government has also invested heavily in supporting anti-corruption initiatives with the civil society and Jamaican government, as well as supported improvements in the justice system. In total, the U.S. government invests about $12 million in security-related programming annually, which does not include all the various partnerships and collaborations that our various U.S. government agencies have with their counterparts. In fact, USAID Jamaica just advertised a broad agency announcement to co-design our flagship community violence prevention activity with key stakeholders such as the government, academia, and private sector. This unique co-creation approach encourages key stakeholders to co-create and deliver the services that are vital to prevent youth crime and violence at the community level. Law enforcement and criminal justice are important to controlling crime, as we all know, and corruption. But we also have to address the underlying social challenges that both cause and contribute to crime. Within the broad range of U.S. cooperation on crime, and this is where USAID comes in, we partner with the government and civil society on a range of programs to address the root causes of crime in Jamaica. So in the area of community safety and security, and building upon past successes with community-based policing, USAID focuses on the strengthening of community-based and civil society organizations, the promotion of community-driven activities, the development of long-term champions of a culture of lawfulness, and the enhancement of ministries, departments, and agencies of the state to be more community-oriented institutions. In this way, we believe that we contribute to building safer communities, strengthening social cohesion, and improving civic engagement participation. USAID also works with holistic youth-friendly approaches that aims to assist at-risk youth in becoming active citizens through the engagement of different social, educational, behavioral, and recreational activities. This approach includes 3 main areas regarding youth involved in criminality: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation, including diversion activities as alternatives to traditional incarceration for first-time offenders. Youth also develop skills through educational programs which introduce them to fundamental concepts in business, economics, individual accountability, and entrepreneurship. USAID expects that life skills and technical training will increase opportunities for at-risk youth to work within the legitimate economy, thereby reducing the likelihood of involvement in gang and criminal activity. In Jamaica, relationships with key public sector, private sector, and donor agency partners are being leveraged to create programs to build skills and to identify work options for youth. USAID also works in the youth remandee centers, which includes case management follow-up to facilitate at-risk youth acquiring job and education opportunities when they are released. In the area of corruption, the Combating Corruption in Jamaica project has not only built public demand for more effective action against corruption through awareness campaigns, but has also provided training to government and civil society partners to build capacity and increase advocacy. The project is expected to have an impact on the nation's capacity and the ability to effectively control instances of and attitudes towards corruption in general and political corruption in particular. So what's the role of the private sector in addressing the root causes? That's why we're all here today. Many of you are representing private sector organizations. How can the private sector be a key partner in addressing some of these root causes? Obviously, many of you are part of the community, and so you have an interest. Your companies are often affected by the high rates of crime and corruption. So it's important that government, international partners who support government, NGOs, and the private sector work together to address these issues. We've all been to various forums on issues surrounding crime in Jamaica. I think the private sector here needs to continue to ask itself what it is doing to address the issue. Clearly, advocacy is important to press for resources, accountability, and support in combating crime. But there's much more that can be done to invest in communities to make them safer and create opportunities for the next generation to be prosperous. Looking ahead, we welcome the opportunity to increase our engagement with the private sector on these challenges because of the energy and innovation that they typically bring to the table. USAID is a learning agency, and we are constantly exploring how to improve our work and increase our impact. So as we streamline our programs and look for new strategic partners, we invite the private sector to partner with us as we both work towards the common goal of helping Jamaicans thrive.
There's this sense of a godlike syndrome that during some transactions an oversight body must lap its tail or virtually hold its corner in the name of investment. There are different roles for each stakeholder. Each must stay in their lane and accept criticism when constructively made. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, in fact, should be happy that the business environment observes the rule of law and that democracy flourishes with built-in checks and balances. If I were an investor about to enter Jamaica, it's incumbent on me and my handlers to look out for red flags and indicators of the environment. I name a few on a list that is not exhaustive. 1, determine the role of the oversight body. It must be effective, efficient, fearless, and it must be respected. What, if any, comment does the oversight body have to say on a process or an investment opportunity that you wish to enter? The engagement, ladies and gentlemen, of investors and investor confidence, existing and thriving, must be viewed on a virtual 2-lane highway. That is a 2-way street with rules and guidelines being applicable. 2, does the police service support and protect local and non-Jamaican community members? Do they communicate with all persons? Are they accessible at all times? Maintain a presence that the visitor or citizen believes and recognizes that if they do wrong, they'll be detected. But lines of communication must always be in place. For too long in this blessed country, the notion exists that unless someone knows you and you not knowing them, nothing will happen. That needs to end. In a time of real emergency, the joke is told, unless you have on speed dial a member of the police force, the response time to a complaint is sometimes unacceptable. Another thing that I would think an investor would look for, there must be a criminal justice system that is efficient and effective, and we must congratulate the learned Chief Justice for the renaissance and the role of the DPP's office in the renaissance that is taking place now. But we must also have financial services, a banking system, healthcare facilities. They must be adequate, to name a few components. Importantly, ladies and gentlemen, on Jamaica's stock exchange record, Michael Reagan, writing in Bloomberg Business Week, January 18, 2019, states the Jamaican Stock Exchange is the world's best performing. Its outperformance over the past 5 years is even more striking. Jamaica's stocks have surged almost 300%, more than quadrupling the next best performing national benchmark and septupling the S&P Standard & Poor's 500's advance. I make bold to say that the very important successes must be highlighted, with all the negatives on crime and violence reported in the last 48 hours in Jamaica. Also, the awards in the tourism sector must also be celebrated. However, we must do better. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the solutions? Government agencies must work together all the time and set aside jealousies and petty matters which have no place in a professional setting. Interagency cooperation and collaboration must be emphasized and practiced. We must build bridges and stop tearing down, emasculating, and ridiculing persons. The fact that you do not agree is no reason to disrespect. Professionalism is non-negotiable. We must have a review of the timelines to review governance structures. Oftentimes, pieces of legislation give you 3 years to review a legislation. You see in 1 year, nothing is happening. The parliamentary caucus needs to do something about that. We must enhance whistleblowing regimes and encourage the discourse, changing the discourse to, in my words, inform or live. Stop saying inform or dead, inform or live. I must admit, I'm an informer. I'm a proud one. I'm an informer. Tell me something today, I'm going to tell the police tomorrow. We need to modernize the law enforcement units and bring outstanding laws into operation. We need public education to sensitize the world that the perception of corruption or actual is not a reflection of the overwhelming majority of law-abiding Jamaicans. We need to ensure that the police and our oversight bodies work to regain public trust. The police must maintain presence, not just in hotspots, but also generally. It will help to rebuild issues of insecurity. I pause here as I listen to Professor Clayton. In the last month, I visited Cayman. The police carry no guns. A year before, I went to Turks and Caicos. The police had no guns. I visited Grenada a few times. The police had no guns. They have their problems, but I felt safe. I am walking in this, my beloved country, and we're turning and looking behind us every minute. But our Caribbean neighbors, and Professor Clayton showed us the figures, I feel safe. We need to look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I reiterate that the government of Jamaica, the ministries, the departments, the statutory bodies, to name a few, must work united to create that package, that which is seen by the outside world, with all the various components and elements that they look at, and which they consider, and which will have the effect to harness growth and encourage investor confidence. But most importantly, we must leave our partners with the belief that integrity is non-negotiable. Honesty is paramount, not by word of mouth, but by our actions. And despite our problems, crime and corruption, that they can and humbly should consider investing in our country to bring about change for good. Acknowledging that the improvement of the basic standards of life may have the effect of changing behavior, but I readily admit we can't legislate for good behavior.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
In respect of what it takes to inspire confidence, I'm a plain speaker, and I will say, I believe that what is happening in our country, education is the key. I believe that a lot of our children, some of those who come from environments where they are victims of poor and dysfunctional parenting, we need to reintroduce civics in all its forms back within the schools, from the time of the basic school, because there are a lot of our children. People complain that, okay, are the schools not doing enough? But they may go to school, the teachers try their best, and they go back into an environment that is like a black hole of nothingness, because there's no value system, no values, positive values and attitudes. And yet if you take that child and you put that child in another environment, you have intervention, positive intervention, you would be surprised to see the beautiful diamond coming from the rough. So I'm really a big believer in education. Now, another pet peeve of mine is that, and I prosecute police officers, I do not subscribe to the throwing the baby with the bathwater approach. Everybody knows their functions best. But I am not a public official who believes, unless it is necessary in the interests of justice, to make gratuitous comments in terms of seeking to tear down my colleagues anywhere. And I am not into using speculation to put out there to join the call for crucify him, crucify her in the public domain, where you have the court of public opinion demanding, just like the little old ladies who were knitting at the time in The Tale of Two Cities and saying for the noblemen, chop off their heads. I am not into that. At the Director of Public Prosecution's office, we deal with two things: the law and evidence. Personal emotion, personalities, we are not into it. So even if the court of public opinion or any other opinion would like to see the guillotined head of an individual on a platter, if there is no evidence to prosecute, to mount a viable prosecution, then as a matter of law, we have to say so. And I will say, and it's the first time I'm saying it publicly, first time, and I say it with the greatest of respect, that this is why on occasion, when I've been asked privately, I have registered privately a concern when you have no firewall between agencies that both investigate and prosecute. Because if you are not careful, you run away in the court of public opinion, and the court of law has to catch up. And by the time it gets to court, after a lot of reputational damage has been done, when you look at it and the defense counsel gets up and says, they are putting the prosecution in limine to prove what is there, the judge asks, and when you pare away what is there, there's nothing there as a matter of law. So sometimes in the court of public opinion, the members of the public would want to see one thing, but both the police and I know that in the court of law, it's either you have to have cogent, credible, reliable, admissible evidence. If you don't have it, then no matter how egregious the conduct of an individual is, then you don't have a case. Then you have to look at the second layer in terms of governance and accountability. And this is where public opinion, civil society can force the government of the day to make sure that all the particular oversight agencies, that they have teeth, that they are well structured, and that the will, the political will is there to make sure that the teeth are not rickety in the oversight agencies, but they can stand up. In other words, if you put a piece of cane in the mouth of the teeth of that oversight agency, the teeth won't come out. It is the cane that will suffer damage.
Riveting perspectives and indeed sobering statistics coming from the AmCham empaneled team here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Hi there. On the pages today, we'll share with you significant advances in our healthcare system. We'll also explore healthy lifestyle changes you should consider. Stick around because there's much more to come your way on Jamaica's #1 magazine program after this message and our news of the week.
It just makes sense that while we make hay as the sun shines, we should also save for the rainy days, because even as we all strive to rule our own destiny, life holds some inevitable and unexpected outcomes for which we should be as prepared as possible. Get the help you need now through the National Insurance Scheme. The NIS offers financial security when it's most needed to all gainfully employed or self-employed persons who contribute to the scheme. Whether it's loss of income due to injury on the job, sickness, retirement, and/or death of a breadwinner, there will be help waiting for you and your family. So if you are over 18 years of age and working, visit your nearest Ministry of Labour and Social Security parish office and get registered under the NIS. Start making your contributions in order to reap the numerous social protection benefits when that rainy day occurs. Email prunit@mlss.gov.jm or call 876-922-8000 to 13 for more information.
Hi there, I'm Simone Wolf with your JIS News of the Week. Ground has been broken for construction to begin on a 754-unit housing development at Rhine Park Estate in St. James.
We're not just talking about it. We're building the housing, we're providing the financing, and we're reducing the transaction costs to allow you to own your own home. Owning your own home in Jamaica has never been easier.
The Ministry of National Security is on target to rebuild or rehabilitate 149 of the 186 police stations in operation by March 2020 under a $5 billion project called Rebuild, Overhaul and Construct.
So there's a direct relationship between the performance of police stations and crime in their station areas. In other words, by improving the physical space of the police stations, officers are better able to perform their duties more efficiently, to have more meaningful engagement with the community, and have better crime outcomes as a result.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has warned primary school administrators that no child should be denied access to an education due to any obligatory high fees.
I am not saying that the parents must not contribute, but sometimes we miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to make sure that no child, regardless of the income status of their household, is in any way deprived of education.
Earlier in the week, the Ministry of Education reported a 1.5% increase in the overall passes for the CAPE and CSEC exams when compared to last year. Meanwhile, over 3,500 students from 17 primary schools across the island will benefit from a numeracy and literacy initiative being financed by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF.
We're glad and we're proud to be a part of this type of intervention that is really putting education in its rightful place.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has activated its enhanced vector control program to include public education, island-wide fogging, and home inspections by 1,000 trained and certified vector control workers.
This is a real challenge that we have, a real burden that we bear as a society, and a burden that as public health officials, as a government, we have to find better ways to respond to. And a big part of that solution is you. You have been selected to drive that army of activity in every community across Jamaica to provide an appropriate response to the Aedes aegypti mosquito and the breeding of that mosquito.
Netherlands-based Jamaican Anne-Marie Brown has committed to provide $1 million annually for the next 3 years to upgrade the Olympic Gardens Health Center in Kingston as part of government's Adopt a Clinic program.
I heard that I was the first individual to actually adopt. And for me, I believe that when God blesses you, because I am blessed, you have to give in the same capacity, the same measure of your blessing. That is how you should give back.
The adoption process basically does a couple of things. One, it says you are volunteering as an adopter to give financial or other types of support to a facility. We will recognize you with a plaque on the wall inside, which we will unveil. Those resources are going towards a needs assessment that is done.
The safety audit of homes for children in state care is now completed and is currently being reviewed by the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. The audit was requested by Prime Minister Andrew Holness following a fire at the Walker's Place of Safety in January last year.
Once Cabinet has reviewed, then the decision will be taken to make it public. But just to say, we have already started to implement some of the recommendations from the audit.
And finally, the International Monetary Fund's resident representative to Jamaica says the country is ready to exit the fund's program come November.
Jamaica has set a new standard for the region, not only for the region, but really for the rest of the world. We've seen a country where the ownership of the economic program was far-reaching. We've seen a country where the broad-based social consensus has allowed two successive administrations to implement sound policy. We've seen a country where we had continuity in the reform, and Jamaican people being engaged in the process to be part of that transformation. So we believe these are features that many countries could learn from.
And those are some of the stories making news this week. I'm Simone Wolf.
The latest and best practices in cardiac and vascular treatment and care are being offered in a state-of-the-art medical facility now housed at the University Hospital of the West Indies. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton officially opened the facility early this year. Let's check it out.
Jamaicans and other people from the Caribbean region, indeed visitors from around the world who may require cardiovascular treatment and care, can expect the best right here at home. The government of Jamaica has been on a mission to retool and modernize the health sector. The University Hospital of the West Indies is among the health facilities undergoing transformational changes to keep abreast of the latest in healthcare technologies.
What we want to deliver to the people of Jamaica is a state-of-the-art facility that will enable us to provide all healthcare needs of our citizens.
It's important that as a country, we are able to provide that advanced and higher level of care that is needed when some of the most complex medical conditions requiring expertise present to us.
In keeping with the hospital's strategic plan and vision, several new developments have been taking place. Among them is the establishment of a cardiovascular interventional suite with state-of-the-art equipment. The suite of equipment cost $2 million, while another $51.5 million Jamaican dollars was spent on construction and infrastructure improvement.
This is an indication of a desire to keep pace with advances in the technology that's around to ensure the delivery of quality care.
The project, which began in 2018, was established through a partnership involving the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports and Education, Chase Fund, and the National Health Fund, as well as international partners, Philips International and International Medex.
It's an amazing achievement. We should be, in a very consistent way, strive to always be on the cutting edge, given our mandate as a regional body to deal with the capacity building mandate that we have.
This modern facility, now available at the University Hospital, enables specialist clinicians to perform minimally invasive tests and procedures to diagnose and treat some of the most complex cardiac and vascular interventional cases.
We have what we call the biplane or dual interventional suite, but what we have done is combine that with echocardiogram within the same suite or an ultrasound. We also have within that suite what we call an anesthetic machine or ventilator that can put the patient to sleep. And we have continuous ECG monitoring. So the combination of equipment combined with the most important, certainly the interventional, the dual biplane system, allows us a wider range of diagnosis and treatment for the patient with the highest degree of accuracy.
It is a multidisciplinary suite. As such, it is equipped for cardiologists, interventional radiologists, vascular surgeons, and cardiothoracic surgeons. Hospital administrators are targeting a gamut of procedures to be performed routinely in the amount of about 50 cases per week. Most are expected to be patients affected by various heart conditions.
But they also come with diseases of the brain, possible strokes, possible abnormalities of the vessels in the brain. They also come with abnormalities of the peripheral vasculature, blockages in the legs, difficulties in the aorta. And so really a lot of the care will speak to cardiac disease, vascular disease.
The suite also has the capacity to deal with conditions such as renal disease and cancers. A number of emergency procedures were among the first set of cases dealt with after the facility went operational in the first half of 2019.
We have done coronary angiograms, we have done percutaneous coronary interventions with stenting, and we've done cerebral angiograms, looking at the vessels to the brain. We have done aortic stenting.
These and other procedures taken on at the interventional suite are making a mark on efforts to tackle the monster of non-communicable diseases and indeed saving lives.
A third of all deaths in Jamaica, between 18 and 20,000 deaths, die from cardiovascular disease. The Global Health and Lifestyle Survey says that 1 in 3 Jamaicans are hypertensive, which speaks directly to this kind of condition or series of conditions which requires an intervention suite. Nearly 50% of those who are hypertensive are unaware that they are. And it's clear that we have the human capacity to do a lot.
Opportunities also created from this interventional suite for the UHWI's Faculty of Medical Sciences to not only teach, but also put all the innovative healthcare theories into practice.
Looking at the intervention suite in operation, you'll recognize it immediately as a microcosm of what we're trying to achieve in the Faculty of Medical Sciences. If you see the unit in operation, every peg knows its particular hole, and it is working like a machine.
As the funders of healthcare in many instances, we are willing and able to support projects that add value. And I'm confident that this is indeed a very good project. So we at the NHF, we are committed to partnerships, and this one really has led to a good outcome.
It doesn't end there. The blueprint for further development at the hospital has in its design its first 6-story tower, as well as other technologies to come, including upgrading of its MRI suite and the delivery of PET imaging.
On the road to securing the health and well-being of the nation, the responsible ministry has established programs to ensure all of us in this country are in tune with the need for lifestyle practices that reduce our disease burden. The flagship promotional program, Jamaica Moves, encourages healthy eating and regular exercise. Find out more in this next feature.
Get moving for a healthier you is the passionate call to action by the Ministry of Health. And it's creating waves across the country as Jamaica moves to tackle non-communicable diseases (NCDs) through regular physical exercise and proper nutrition. Within schools, the Healthy Lifestyle program is being rebranded through the Healthy Youth Positive Energy Hype initiative.
The reality is that 7 of every 10 Jamaicans who die each year, and we have about 18 to 20,000 deaths in our country each year, die from what we classify as non-communicable diseases, lifestyle diseases, to put it simplistically. And it's all about our physical inactivity and our consumption patterns, our habits.
The Ministry of Health is on a mission to change that by getting every Jamaican to engage in at least 30 minutes of physical exercise daily. In fueling this fitness revolution, the ministry launched the Jamaica Moves campaign under the theme, More Moments, More Memories, and More Life.
If you do what we are promoting, then as the tagline says, you'll have more moments, more time to spend with your family, your friends, do what you enjoy, more memories, capture all of those lovely memories, and more life.
Through promotional events across the island, the ministry is showcasing entertaining exercise workouts that persons can go home and practice. Free medical checks are also being provided.
It's part of the preventative healthcare method, and that's the approach that we're trying to take before we get to the part of the curative side, which is hospital care.
Jamaica Moves is also developing walking trails in each parish and partnering with local walking and running groups. This is all part of the National Strategic and Action Plan for the Prevention and Control of NCDs for the period 2013 to 2018. The plan covers 7 main categories of diseases: cardiovascular conditions, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, diabetes, sickle cell, mental health disorders, and injuries.
Rarely do we speak about the need to change our lifestyle in our own interests as individuals. And it is cheaper to do that. 1/3 of your income, according to the World Bank, if you get arthritis, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and all the others that are linked to lifestyle, 1/3 of your disposable income, the World Bank says, will end up being spent on treating those ailments. So it affects the bottom line and your pocket also.
Many persons like this man can testify to the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle, which extend beyond monetary savings.
All my family have diabetes. One night, I see my hand hook up like this, pull in, and get cramp. My feet then start to cramp. The morning, I put on my clothes, get ready and go to the doctor. He do my blood sugar level, and it was 29.5. And he said, oh my God, you almost kill yourself. So the doctor said, I know what to do, Mr. Reed. He said, yes, sir. So I was weighing at the time 285 pounds with a big tummy like this. So he said, go and cut out your belly. And you know what I mean. So I said, I understood, doctor. I'm going to change my diet and I'm going to take up exercise 1,000,000%. So I start off by 1 mile back and forth till I end up doing 10 miles. Exercise is the key to good health. Eat right, change your diet, less carb. Remember to put the running shoes right at your bed. As you step out of your bed, you step in. And the first thing, you drink 1 cup of water before you move. And eat a lot of fruit, eat a lot of greens, and always have 1 glass of the green juice every week.
Dedicating 30 minutes out of every day to physical exercise may seem a big challenge, but begin with just 1 step and you'll find it becomes manageable. Regular exercise helps prevent damage to your heart's artery from high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure that can lead to heart attack or stroke. Medical experts say aerobic exercises also improve the body's blood circulation and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes while helping to control blood glucose in persons living with diabetes. There are exercises tailored to building muscle and losing weight, increasing strength, and improving flexibility. Corporate Jamaica is on board with the Move for Health, and even more are encouraged to take on the Jamaica Moves Corporate Challenge. It involves companies and their staff signing up and participating in the various run-walk events.
We want to mobilize as many companies as possible So what we say to you is sign up your company, get registered, endorse the Jamaica Brew brand, which is a national brand. The reality is many of us don't practice healthy living. So we need more people to do it. And by doing it, encourage others so to follow.
Persons can learn about the various Jamaica Moves challenges and events by logging on to the Ministry of Health's website moh.gov.jm or jamaicamoves.com. Staying fit and healthy is everybody's business, so get moving for better health.
As we continue to focus on the subject of safety and well-being, let's turn to the importance of protecting yourself and property from fire hazards. A fire can cause great loss and grief. In this next feature, you'll learn what you can and should not do to keep your property and people safe.
Fire! Fire! My bed, my clothes.
Same script, different day. What's worse, sometimes a human being, even a child, dies in these unfortunate situations. The loss of lives and valuables as a result of fires is impacting those who remain behind. The mental effort to get up from the ashes. Taxpayers too are being burnt, as more dollars are being shelled out for fire emergency operations. Homeowners must implement fire safety plans.
It's important for us to fireproof our homes because we have our families and we normally have strict guidelines as to how you operate within the home, or you store your chemicals as it relates to your kitchen, how you manage your heat sources, how you handle your plugs. So the safety measures that you take as it relates to the protection of your children.
Here are a few situations you must avoid to prevent losing your home to fire. Finally home from a tired day at work. The first thing many people do is get something to eat. Now, this is when a fire safety sin is usually committed, having a cigarette while tired or the stove is left on. What else at home are you not doing safely? Like this, using a computer or mobile phone on the bed. So they should not be used on flammable surfaces such as beds or sofas.
Leaving your cell phones on your bed can trigger the ignition temperatures of that spread or sheet and can actually cause a flame. So we encourage you not to leave your cell phones unattended. It's an active source of heat, and worse when it is charging. It has caused many house fires based on our statistics.
Between 2010 and so far in 2019, 100 children were burnt to death. One of the main causes of these deadly fires, a child left unattended with burning candles.
Based on investigation from fires, we find that most of the times it's because we leave our children unattended, right? So we leave them with the matches, we leave them with the candles, we leave them with the lighters, and we leave them with maybe a laptop or an iPod, something to keep their attention, but they are fascinated by flame.
Here are some other factors found by the brigade to be the major causes of fires within the home. Clothes put to dry at the back of the refrigerator. Storing plastics on cooking gas cylinders.
We identify this as a fire hazard because if you notice, it is pretty much close to the source of heat, which would have been the stove itself. All right? So we can have a spark from this. The Jamaica Fire Brigade encourages that cylinders over 30 pounds should be stored outside. So here we have two heat sources, a microwave and a toaster oven. All right? Plus, there is a charger plugged directly between both sources of heat. What we encourage is that there should be sufficient space to allow for air to pass through. In the bathrooms, the heat source is, for example, your blow dryer. You leave those on, running while you do other stuff, while you wash your face, something. But leaving them near your towels and your other materials that can burn, your clothes, that can spark flames.
As for power strips, they should not be overloaded.
So we also encourage that if you're using extension cords, do not run them behind furniture, do not run them under the carpet, because the constant pressure on the cords themselves will cause breakage. Again, if it is near a combustible material, it can cause a fire.
It is crucial that these fire safety measures are adhered to. Every home should have a fire safety plan that is known by each member of the household. Lastly, but very important, keep the numbers of the nearest fire station saved in your telephone contacts.
The general public can make a request for us to come inside the homes, check where you should have a smoke detector, check where an extinguisher should be, because you should have these in your homes as well.
On the board this week, the Visionary Youth Club and iCare Jamaica, in partnership with Sandals Foundation, Sandals, Beaches and Grand Pineapple Negril, will be hosting its back-to-school treat on August 24. It will be held at the Darliston Primary School. Save the date. There will be a lot of rides, games and prizes along with school packages. The back-to-school treat will start at 10 a.m. Also, the Clarendon Health Department is being relocated from 1 Muirhead Avenue on the grounds of the Mapen Hospital to 1 to 3 Jackson Street in Denby, Clarendon. The new location is beside the Denby Primary School. The Health Department will begin offering administrative services from its new location on Monday, August 19. All other services, including food handler certification, mental health, diabetic retinopathy, and child guidance clinics, will remain at their current location on the Mapen Hospital compound. Operation times remain the same. The phone numbers for the Health Department also remain the same. And residents living in and around Spanish Town St. Catherine are being asked to gear up for participation in the Spanish Town Culture Quiz. The competition is put on by the Diana L. Walters Charity Foundation. It will be held from October 21 to December 21 this year. For more information, visit the foundation at 9 Chester Avenue off Brunswick Avenue, Spanish Town St. Catherine, or call 876-853-2497 or 876-336-2230. And that's all for our community notices this Saturday. If you have something to share on our notice board, give us a call at 876-922-8680 or email cbishop@jis.gov.jm or kferguson@jis.gov.jm.
We've come to the close of Jamaica Magazine for today, but we hope you've been enlightened and ask that you do join us again tomorrow for more. Until then, continue to watch these and other programs by logging on to our website, jis.gov.jm, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
The Mona School of Business and Management hosted its 4th business conference at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, and Business Access TV was there to bring you the highlights. Stay tuned.
Welcome on behalf of the Mona School of Business and Management to our 4th biennial conference. We're here to discuss delivering on the promise of entrepreneurship, and it is critical at this juncture that Jamaica in particular and the rest of the Caribbean, having gone through all sorts of structural and fiscal and monetary adjustments, these are necessary but not sufficient. And entrepreneurship is clearly one of the ways in which we will capitalize on a more robust financial platform that we have. And today we'll be looking both at research and examples from the Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the global audience. In that context, I would like to welcome all our visitors and presenters who have come from the Caribbean, the USA, and Europe, and I'd like to thank you for attending. We look forward to having very interesting conversations over the 3 days, and as has been our custom, to have generated research and publications arising out of the conference to advance knowledge. Our goal is to provide a link between the academy and the business community in a more direct way than other faculties and departments at the university. I therefore welcome not just this interaction between the school and the wider community, but we hope to use it as a springboard for even better partnerships.
I've noticed that the title of the opening plenary is Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Growth, Unlocking the Potential in the Jamaican Economy. So I presume that within that is the message that entrepreneurship and innovation have something to do with growth. And it's a fair assumption. And that is perhaps why we are being told by the Economic Growth Council to unleash our entrepreneurial spirit. We are being told by the World Bank to become more innovative. We're told by various members of the political directorate to take more risks and invest in newer areas. So it would appear that there is a growing perception that there is, in fact, a link between entrepreneurship and growth. The private sector organization of Jamaica and the Jamaica Bankers Association are finally reaching out to small and medium-sized entrepreneurs to get them to formalize their operations. So all of this is good. I think there's an energy that is starting. Unfortunately, that has happened before, but there is an energy that's starting that we need to keep going. And we need to understand that, or figure out whether it is a magic bullet or it is the beginning of a new paradigm that must be adopted by all of us across the board in order for us to secure mature development as a nation, as a society. I think we need to take a look at the historical context of our country so that we understand not only where we are or we got here, but we can try and use it to map where we're going. But before I do that, I just wanted to give a commercial plug for the efforts of the Jamaica Bankers Association and the member bankers for the initiative to allow access to finance and to encourage access to finance for the SMEs and the medium-sized businesses. It's important for us to understand that the current definition of an SME is a business entity having between 1 and 50 employees and an annual turnover of less than $150 million. So that is the spectrum of enterprises that we at the PSOJ and the JBA are trying to capture. And the aim is to bring greater awareness of this SME sector to the extremely numerous and detailed programs that the government's Access to Finance agenda has established since 2016. And also, we want to provide input and support for the adoption and the expansion of the Access to Finance program across most of the stakeholder sectors through a process of education, facilitation, and familiarization. So the project has two streams. It has the Access to Finance stream, and it has a reverse factoring program, which is being developed in conjunction with the DBJ to enable small businesses to better manage their receivables. Cash flow is extremely important to small businesses, and we need to assist them in their management of it and in their collection of their debt. So the hope of the program is to foster better relationships between the banks and the small businesses, to simplify the credit processes and to make them easier and more transparent for the small businesses. We want to train the MSMEs, which is the term, in formalizing, regularizing, and structuring their business processes, and to allow them to unlock additional capital to allow for their business expansion.
So as we contemplate how we can deliver on this promise of entrepreneurship in the Caribbean region, in our own Jamaican nation, I invite us to consider those factors which may possibly be standing in the way of us unlocking and unleashing our entrepreneurial potential. As a region and as a nation, we have a reputation of being a creativity powerhouse. We pride ourselves in our ability to come up with creative, original new ideas, and we often proudly hail our national mantras such as Tanya Han and Make Fashion, which speaks to our creative national problem-solving abilities, which allow us to turn any obstacle into an inventive opportunity. Simply put, we are just naturally creative, imaginative, and innovative people. And throughout our history, as a region and as a nation, our creative outputs and our ideas have always garnered global attention. However, in spite of our creative prowess, we seem to have failed to translate our ideas into generating high growth, high worth, high impact entrepreneurial ventures. And so I ponder the question, why do we think that is? Why is it that as a nation and as a region, we have been a plethora of creators in our island, but a dearth of successful entrepreneurs? So to examine this question, I invite us to consider the distinctions between the definitions of creativity and entrepreneurship. Now, the Webster Dictionary defines creativity as the ability to make new things and think of new ideas. That we do well. However, it defines entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur as one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risks of a business or an enterprise. I submit that this is the critical differentiator in this definition between who an entrepreneur is as opposed to who a creative is, in that an entrepreneur is somebody who has to and must take risks. This distinction between these two definitions is important because while we as Jamaicans are a naturally creative people, we need to consider the question, are we naturally entrepreneurial? Are we naturally risk takers and risk makers, or are we risk averse? In the results of the indices from the Global Resilience Index, which ranks 130 countries around the world by the risk and resilience of their business environments, based on certain factors such as economic indicators, risk factors, and supply chain issues, Jamaica has consistently ranked in the bottom 30 of 130 nations in the study. This might suggest that our national distaste for risk is well-founded. However, if left unchecked, our risk aversion will continue to be our entrepreneurial Achilles heel. So why is it that as a region, we're such risk-averse people? Why do we shy away from risk? I believe it's in part because when we think about entrepreneurial risk, we tend to only focus on the downside versus the upside of risk. A close examination of the term risk suggests that it refers to the effect of uncertainty on meeting organizational outcomes. However, while the effect of uncertainty as an entrepreneurial venture can be both negative and positive, we often only focus on the potential negative effects of risk and uncertainty to the exclusion of the consideration of the positive potential opportunities which risk and uncertainty can also provide. In my opinion, an entrepreneur is someone who sees the future and then sets out to create it. However, creating the future means stepping out into the uncertain and the unknown, and stepping out onto the unknown is risky. Oftentimes, however, when risk-averse entrepreneurs think of the word risk, what comes to mind are only those potential dangers, threats, and negative consequences of undertaking a venture. What if I can't pay my bills? What if a competitor beats me to the market? What if I invest a huge sum of money in the business, but I can't attract enough customers to cover my costs? I submit that this is a flawed view of the concept of risk. To the contrary, as we seek to unlock and unleash our creative and entrepreneurial potential as a region and as a nation, we need to begin to acknowledge that risk and reward are two sides of the same entrepreneurial coin. Consequently, without an active emphasis on entrepreneurial risk-taking and risk-making, we will fail to see the rewards of generating high growth, high impact, high worth entrepreneurial ventures.
Just to give you a little background in terms of what the DBJ does. The DBJ, really, the focus as a development bank is to really improve the lives of all Jamaicans through development financing, capacity building, PPPs, and privatizations. DBJ's role in building the economy, in as much as Howard just mentioned that because of factors, the state has had a big influence on the economy. DBJ's role, the philosophy behind it, is really not to be competing with the private sector or to take the place of the private sector, but really to fill the gaps where they exist. And so over the many decades, DBJ has been involved in lending through the AFIs at affordable rates when interest rates were at sky-high levels. Putting in place collateral guarantees for good projects that did not have sufficient collateral to access loans. Things like Ignite program, grants for innovation, which now coming up with a reverse factoring, there is capacity building of our entrepreneurs. And the work that I'm doing, which really was focused on access to finance, access to equity finance through the Jamaica Venture Capital Program. When we established the VC program, the whole point was that we originally thought about it as being access to finance, but pretty quickly recognized that it was wider than just money. We had to be building the ecosystem. Everybody had to be ready for a market. Any market has buyers, sellers, as well as the infrastructure. We had none of those in Jamaica, so we had to be building that infrastructure. So it was really a multifaceted program that was developed, training and capacity building. Our fund managers or investors had to be trained, or fund managers or entrepreneurs, our lawyers, accountants. So there was a lot of training. We also put in place the infrastructure to build for our first funds to be started, as well as there are a number of legal, regulatory, and tax issues which have to be addressed. And most importantly, the entrepreneurs, the deal flow has to be there. So in looking at building an ecosystem, we had to be cognizant of, as I mentioned, all the various things. Who are the players? How are they going to be exiting the stock exchange? I know Marlene is going to be talking about that shortly. And, entrepreneurship, as well as what's happening with the SMEs and who are what is the support infrastructure. And we took a lot of lessons. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We took a lot of lessons from what happened in Latin America as they were building their private equity and venture capital ecosystems.
Do you want more experience from your SUV? Introducing the 2020 Nissan X-Trail with leading-edge technology, intelligent ride and chassis control, a round view monitor, and hill start assist for confidence behind the wheel, plus auto headlights and panoramic sunroof. Drive the SUV with more experience. The Nissan X-Trail, available today at Fidelity Motors.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show. And Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Violence is bad.
Violence against our innocent little children is terrible. Pretending not to notice when we know or suspect that a child is suffering is awful and morally wrong. In the words of the great Nelson Mandela, there can be no keener realization of a nation's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Think about that for a second. I have a voice. It's one of my gifts. I intend to use it on behalf of our children. No more violence against our children. Make your move to stop violence against our children right now. No more. No more. No more.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
So I just wanted to just tell you real quick about the IDB Lab, just to put in context where we sit and what we are doing and how we could unlock the potential for entrepreneurship and innovation in Jamaica, even further than we are doing now. I like the way we started the panel. So we started off looking at the research, because research and development is very integral in all that we have to do as SMEs and entrepreneurs and when we're taking on innovation. We looked at the risk approach to it, smart risk taking. We also looked at our history, where we're coming from, because culturally that's still going to be ingrained in us. And then we looked at the capacity building and all the different elements that's needed. So I want to take you through unlocking that potential that's there and first introducing you to IDB Lab. So IDB Lab is a part of the IDB Group. We serve over 650 million persons across the world. We are a part of a group with IDB Invest. IDB works with the government. IDB Invest works with private sector, and then IDB Lab works with different corporate entities, civil society, NGOs, towards solving developmental problems. I'll go back to what Mr. Mitchell had said about inclusiveness. That's what IDB is all about. We are innovation lab looking at inclusive solutions for Latin America and the Caribbean. We create market-driven solutions. So we look at what the market is doing, what the needs are, where the gaps are, and we work along with the private sector to create those solutions. We also look for what we call transformative impact. How do we create what we call 10x impact, greater impact than we have seen before in the projects that we're looking to do? And we're very focused on vulnerable society. This is the inclusiveness that Mr. Mitchell was talking about. Where does the poor and the disabled and those persons who don't have access to goods or services, how can we help to solve some of those problems, elevating those persons, improving their lives so that they can be contributing to the growth of the society? So I mentioned we work with private sector in creating these projects. They're the ones who are executing on the initiatives.
But I'm going to start with the slide, which is the JSE Market Index. And it is an index taken from Bloomberg yesterday, which really shows that point to point from last year, this time to this year, the market index has gone up by 61.76%. And that is showing you really the power of what happens when businesses are financed and the value created at each stage. So you can see that the index speak about companies and the value that has gone from point of last year to now is an increase of 61.7%. Year to date, 27%. I'm going to share a little bit with you as to why this could happen. But let us talk about the stock exchange group. We are 50 years today, this year, and what we did, we set out to ensure that there was confidence in the market by forming the Jamaica Central Securities Depository in 1998. And in order to broaden the services of the financial sector, in 2008, we formed the trustee division. And this is in order for persons to have confidence in the market when we talk about funding. When we talk about access to equity capital, one of the main pillars is confidence in the market. So the idea of the stock exchange is that we can raise equity, and that is, having shareholders in your company, but also debts can be raised on the market as well. And every once in a while, we do have some simple innovations that allow for markets to grow and for persons to get money and to grow their business. And so in 2009, we created the junior market, and which shows a collaboration between government and the private sector, which offers, because persons have asked what is offered to incentivize businesses to grow, to access capital. And we have the junior market where with the government's collaboration, we have a 10-year corporate tax holiday. We also have the support of the depository, as I said before, and we are in 40 clients in 5 CARICOM states. So we are all over the Caribbean. What is our market performance? For the main market, we have 55 companies as at June, and 55 securities and 42 companies. For the junior market, because we have the junior market, as I said, as at June, we have 41 companies. So the companies have come to market and have grown, and representing 38 securities. And we do have a US dollar market also, and that is growing too. So we can see that people are considering as a credible option the stock market to raise capital. Why would you want to go public? When you talk about going public, it's a serious situation. It is one of disclosing your business to all concerned. And many persons are reluctant to do that, but more and more we are seeing, especially small and medium sized, understanding that it is not so bad. When you come to market, you get these various benefits, enhanced profitability and viability, and more about this company is a larger pool of well-run, profitable and compliant, because compliance is important. And there is a wider pool of investors. When probably 5 or so years ago, you had less persons willing to invest in companies that come to market. So you would have probably 20, 30 investors in any, what is called an IPO. Now we have thousands of companies, of investors that will invest in companies. So for those persons who are business people, don't be afraid. Persons will invest in you if you have a credible idea and a good plan. We have seen on the level of the macro level that employment has increased, and it is a sustainable economic growth because of that.
Stop for a second and think about an incentive where you get 100% relief on your corporate tax for 5 years and 50% after. And you have in excess of 2,000 companies registered at the company's office. And we only have 40 since we have opened the junior market. It speaks to a bigger issue. So I have 3 minutes and I just want to touch on two quick things. That bigger issue is that significantly more education needs to be given to owners of these companies. We spend too much time trying to hide revenues, etc., in so-called getting a lower tax rate, that you're impacting the value creation, the revenue expansion of your business. So we need to find a way to get to more of those entrepreneurs, to let them understand that the more you open up your company is the more you're going to make, because the tax rate is a percentage of a whole. So if that whole keeps growing, you will always get more than what the government is going to get. I'll touch quickly on the fact that, Maybury does all these things. We take you from nowhere right up. We fund you with debt, we fund you with equity. The gains have been crazy. But I close by jumping into Audrey's space because I just want to make two fundamental points. I think sometimes we don't really focus on what really matters. So the biggest issue with funding in the country is a matter of risk management. So for example, people always say, why is it easier for you to get a car loan than for you to get a capital item loan? And it's very, very simple. There's a secondary market for cars. So when you get a loan, the bank has to ensure its principal can be repaid in the event you don't make the payment. So they'll quickly lend you against a car, because if you default on a car, there are a billion people that are willing to buy the car on a second-hand basis. But that is the secret to true funding in this country. If every sector of the economy that you want to pump funding into, you can create a secondary market, that is where you'll start to get a lot of funding. Because with all due respect, all of you guys that want money, you don't want to lose money. I don't want to lose money. The facts say that 8 out of 10 of you are going to blow up the money. That's why it is so difficult. So in my mind, the solution is create an environment that if I will invest in all 10, but the 8 that blows up, give me an incentive. Because right now it's too lopsided. I lose everything when your company blows up, and the best, if I'm lucky, that I'm going to get from you is, Mr. Peart, you're a good guy. Sorry I lost all your money. But guess what? I have another idea. Can you give me some more money for that? It's not going to work. So I finally close by saying, to get these traditional investors to invest in you, you have to come up with a solution that mitigates the risk for them.
I'm 36. I'm a husband, a manager, and still very good looking. In 2 hours, I have the most important meeting of my life. But first, it's time to play. The new Suzuki Vitara.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
As a teacher for over 8 years, we need to realize that the children are our future. We need to love them, appreciate and respect our children. No more violence against children. No more!
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
So I'm here representing my company and partnering with the Mona School of Business and Management. We at Foswich went public just a year and a half ago. And I'm here to tell you about nuts and bolts, just a few things on the nuts and bolts aspect of going public. One of the fundamental things, a few fundamental things that we had to wrestle with is going public. What is the value proposition that we are bringing to the market? You know, the space that we are in is electrical lighting, and we made a footprint for us in the LED space, where that particular product, the LED product, consumes 20% of the energy that the rest of fluorescent and incandescent light systems would produce, would consume. And so we wanted Jamaica to be clear that we are going to be the ones to bring this value to each consumer. And so how do we bring that value to the consumer? When you walk into a store and you see an LED bulb or an LED fixture or something, being untrained, you do not know exactly the properties and how it works and so on. And so we decided, okay, we are going to have to develop a department where we give this information to you. So when you walk in, or when we call you, or when we visit you, we are going to teach you or tell you the features of using the LEDs and the benefits. And so that became a big part of the value that we brought to the market. We had to therefore acquire or employ engineers, and we call them commercial or engineers that can disseminate information in a forum that people can understand. And so we will have small meetings like these. We call them, industrial mingles, whether it be in Montego Bay, in Mandeville, in Kingston, and we invite 50 to 80 people, and we start talking to them. And before long, they start spreading the news of the value of the product that we were offering. And so we were now defining our way in the market. And in doing that, it gave us the freedom to feel more comfortable later on to go public, because now we were bringing the value that the other competitors were not bringing to the market at the time. And so you have to decide what is it you're going to take to the market. We were not manufacturing any products at that time, or we were not manufacturing them in Jamaica, because we had connections in Far East that we visited and we worked with them to manufacture them, but they were not being manufactured in Jamaica. So we wanted to set ourselves apart from the competition. So one, understand what is it you're bringing to the market and what value you give them when they are to use your goods or services before you are thinking of going public. Another thing, and Marlene and Gary touched on it, transparency. It is, my wife and I are very private people before last year. We're very private people. Nobody knew anything about us. It was so difficult for us to open all of our accounting to our senior accountant. We used to manage it. But once we decided after talking about it and thinking about it that we're going to be going public. I do not even have the code to go into my accounts department anymore, because you now put a system in place and you're not afraid of opening up your books or your business to the public. And so you have to decide that this is the way you want to go and that you're going to go in this way.
So I come to you to talk to you about transforming the world, including with entrepreneurship, sustainability, and innovation. It's time to turn climate change challenges into growth opportunities. I want to start today by taking a journey with you. Just as I grew up as an only child in Kingston and migrated to the US in high school, think about your experiences and where in Jamaica you're from, where you lived, where you grew up, your family, and what those experiences were like, what you aspired to be, and what you were frustrated with. It is said that our upbringing and life experiences shape us, the way we look at the world and our perspective. I think about my upbringing, born in a family from the great and no longer forgotten parish of St. Thomas, and raised in a matriarchal household. I think about the days when my grandmother made soursop juice and mango juice every time I visited her. I think about those frigid cold showers and the smell of kerosene lamps, and during intermittent power outages, and buckets of water because of the water shut off. And the other things like how I still boil water to this day, no matter where in the world I'm from. I see potential innovation in the challenges in our day-to-day life. Sometimes we're missing ideas and solutions from what is right in front of us. Sometimes we accept what has been occurring as commonplace, but I encourage every one of you to disrupt this status quo. Use those challenges as opportunities for innovation. Steve Jobs said, if you're going to make connections which are innovative, you have to have not the same bag of experiences as everyone else. You're going to have to make connections, and then you won't be innovative. When you think of the most successful tech companies being created today, it is either from Silicon Valley, Israel, Europe, or Asia. However, right here in Jamaica, we have exported our own brand of innovation through music, food, dance, etc., and even the pushback. It is our family experiences, the history of migration, our culture and diversity of our people that makes us special and unique. They are the ingredients for a new crop of innovation that can be utilized to address climate change challenges. I believe that sustainability and climate change is the business and economic opportunity of the century. The world is under a climate emergency. If we don't, in the next 10 years, if we don't reduce the temperature by 1.5 degrees, we will be in a serious catastrophe. According to the UN, limiting global warming means that 420 million fewer people being exposed to severe heat waves, survival of tropical reefs, loss of fewer plants and animal species, and the protection of forests and wetland habitats. Climate change affects every industry, but most notably health, agriculture, water, and food, water and energy. Because of the increased acceptance and the urgency, there has been a rapid increase of funding, governmental projects, and new startup innovations. The capital markets have also taken notice and are integrating environmental consideration, social impact, and governance into business and investment decisions. They are reallocating trillions of dollars to address this challenge. This is an enabling environment that presents an opportunity to create new products, new services, and solutions that will help and adapt and mitigate the effects of climate change for everyone. Furthermore, because the islands in general are disproportionately affected, in some cases it gives us first mover advantage to innovate and create solutions in a small environment before scaling internationally. The time to innovate and take advantage of new business and social impact opportunity is now. We are currently feeling the effects of climate change. Last month, as many of you know, in Kingston, there was record temperatures. Kingston was not alone. In Alaska, the record temperature reached 32 degrees. In southern France, the record temperature reached 45.5 degrees Celsius. and it's just going to get hotter from here. As higher temperatures become more common, the demand for cooling devices will rise, driving the need for green innovation in the sector. Air conditioning is a twofold problem. It requires the use of more energy and uses chemicals that are harmful to global warming. There are hotter days coming, and there is both a need for new solutions and technologies that can keep us cool, but also reduce the effects of climate change.
Do you want more experience from your SUV? Introducing the 2020 Nissan X-Trail with leading-edge technology, intelligent ride and chassis control, a round view monitor, and hill start assist for confidence behind the wheel. Plus, auto headlights and panoramic sunroof. Drive the SUV with more experience. The Nissan X-Trail, available today at Fidelity Motors.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, highlighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but four walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
So today I will be speaking about Airbnb, which is very topical. The emergence of Airbnb in Jamaica and some of the debates and concerns that we have. I'm going to be pointing to what I consider to be a research gap and some questions, a very brief literature review, tell you a little bit about my methodology, what I found out, and some preliminary conclusions. I want to say that this is part of a larger body of work, and it's very much still in progress. So two things, forgive me if everything isn't there, and secondly, I really welcome your comments, which will help me to, I can utilize them as I go forward. All right, so these are some of the headlines that we see, that we have seen over time. I just went to our local newspapers, and you can see there's quite a debate happening, and this happens everywhere Airbnb goes. Very few people are neutral. They either love it or they hate it. So most recently, in the last week, we have had the issue of taxation come up, and the whole issue about how much are people earning from Airbnb currently. The last comment that really caught my attention was from the JHTA, Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association. And they're saying, tax because we need a level playing field. And what is in quotation there, you can read for yourself. But in essence, the JHTA's position is that, look, these people are legitimate competitors to us. And we don't see why, if they are competing in our space, they shouldn't have to have the same, my words, burden that we have. So, what I have been noticing in this debate, there's a lot of talk, as I showed with the headlines, about Airbnb and home sharing. Airbnb, of course, is just one of the many companies, but it's a name that everybody knows. So, and it's what I'm actually focusing my work on. But there's a lot of stuff we don't know. For example, are they really unfair threats? Are they tapping into the same market as the hotels? Or are they just little people trying to make some extra cash? JHTA doesn't think so, that they're little people, but how much do we really know? Do they offer similar products? And in essence, it comes down to one question: what exactly are they doing? So I have some research questions that I will show you again in a little bit. But in essence, what I'm trying to understand is from the perspective of the host. So rather than going macro, I'm actually going to go micro, because hosts are the ones who make or break an Airbnb product. So that's what I will be looking at. So as I said, I'll mention these research questions in a little bit. But to just talk about the host, who is the host? Well, one definition says a good host makes his guests happy while they're in his care. So that's in essence what a host would be required to do. But in addition to that, a host has a legal and moral obligations. So if, some of us have studied hospitality law, and we know that, coming back from common law, innkeeper's liability and so on, you have the obligation to ensure that your guests are kept safe and healthy. But in addition to that, there's this moral code from many religions and traditions, meaning that you have to take the person in. In addition to that, in Jamaica, we have very strict legislation. And for a homestay, which currently Airbnb would fall under, there are 11 standards established by TPD, Tourism Products and Development Company, that have to be met. And they're currently looking at new legislation, they say. But currently, this is where it would fall. And hosts should also receive Team Jamaica training. B&B hosts, bed and breakfast hosts, are often lifestyle entrepreneurs. And that's a nice way of saying they don't necessarily do it for the money. There's a lot of romance and mystery associated with the concept of bed and breakfast. And the interesting thing with Airbnb is, it sounds like breakfast, bed and breakfast, and they're built on that notion, although they don't have to serve breakfast, and very few actually do. But remember that many of them are lifestyle entrepreneurs. And the services that they're expected to provide, they're very intimate, customer service oriented, personalized, and so on, because in many cases, you're coming into the home of the host. Airbnb now, what they say is almost anyone can be a host. That's what, if you go to their website, they will say that. But what you may not understand when you're following up on that, and they also say that there are 3 steps: list the space, decide how to host, and welcome the first guest. And that sounds really simple as 1, 2, 3. But in reality, each of those steps assumes a whole body of knowledge which everybody may not have. You have to understand how to market. You have to understand how to do your pricing according to the season, according to supply and demand, and so on. And of course, how to manage your property and to interact with guests.
This afternoon, I'm going to be presenting on Airbnb and delivering the promise of Airbnb, the promise of entrepreneurship to Jamaica. And as my colleague mentioned, Dr. Craig, about the whole issue of Airbnb, it's a very controversial topic now. To tax or not to tax, those are the issues. But today for my presentation, I'm going to be providing and sharing some data with you about Airbnb's performance in Jamaica in particular. And please note that this is a part of a larger body of study. I'm actually studying Airbnbs not only in Jamaica, but also in Cuba and Cayman Islands and Bahamas. So the sample that you see me extrapolate data from is a part of a wider body of knowledge that is also currently ongoing and in process. So as you can see, it's the whole business of home sharing. So the idea is not lost upon us. And another thing that we want to drive home is that the whole notion of Airbnb is really not new to the Jamaican tourism industry, Caribbean tourism industry by extension. We've always opened our homes to guests. It's just the way in which we're doing it is different. And technology has created a platform that allows for greater access to persons who are also seeking this kind of intimate relationship and more authentic experiences. So we're going to get into, again, some of the controversy I also took from the headlines because it's so topical. And as you can see, there's so many issues coming out, how many guests we're actually welcoming, where they're going, who are they staying with, to tax or not to tax. That's also a big question that is trying to be answered now. So it's very topical. But again, just to frame and contextualize it, Airbnb is a part of the wider sharing economy. And I love that term, as you mentioned, the Uberification, is it? Yes, fantastic. Because really that's what it is. It stems from these radical innovations that allow people to make extra money. That's really what it is. So I looked at the literature again from sources and what persons are saying about the sharing economy, which we're now a part of. And that is why everybody's trying to get their slice of the pie. So Botsman in particular had mentioned that it's very hard for us to define in totality what the sharing economy is. However, Ryan and Botsman in 2017 and 15 respectively looked at it from calling it a collaborative economy, the on-demand services economy, the gig economy, the freelance economy. So if you hear any of these terms, they're all used interchangeably. And basically it refers to the sharing activity of underutilized assets with the help of IT-based technology. So it's nothing new. It's just again the platform in which we're presenting it is a little different. So the main drivers towards this economy, how did it emerge and why are we here and why is it so important to us? The main drivers is basically consumer behavior. We're switching now from ownership to access. Now I'm a part of a very unique group of consumers and producers called the millennials, and they're few in this room. And we're kind of changing and shaping the way in which we consume things. So we're looking more, less to ownership rather, and more to access. And that is what is causing all these radical innovations to take place right across our landscape, and in particular in tourism. Now, the biggest success factors of the sharing economy is online reputation. And my colleague again, Anne Crick, also mentioned, the feedback system and rankings in terms of host and super host and all of that. Very important for us to look at. So these are some of the brands that come about under the sharing economy: Uber, Airbnb, Homestay, Lyft, WeWork, all of these, Craigslist, Couchsurfing, all of them are part of the sharing economy. So peer-to-peer accommodation, this is where people provide accommodation directly to consumers using a digital platform. And these are temporary stays in the homes. Airbnb in particular for P2P accommodation, most people call it Airbnb, but there are also other platforms that are very much relevant to us and is affecting the Jamaican tourism accommodation landscape: TripAdvisor, HomeAway, and also Booking.com. Now, just to share some data with you, globally, peer-to-peer accommodations, they're 7% of total accommodation around the world, 8 million beds. It's estimated that the number of transactions that took place was actually 75 billion US in 2017. And the trends and findings, again, the millennials are the ones who are driving this form of innovation. And also, it is not limited to budget travelers. It's not just about cheap travel, but efficient travel as well. And it was initially for the leisure market, but we find from my studies that the business traveler is also another trending market. So for entrepreneurs who are trying to get into Airbnb, an aspect that you could look at in terms of growth is catering to the needs of the business traveler. So Jamaica, what is happening with Jamaica and what does it mean for us going forward? Jamaica was chosen as one of the countries for a pilot study by the World Bank in 2018. So they came to the Ministry of Tourism and they wanted to study peer-to-peer accommodations in the Caribbean, and Jamaica was the country chosen. But why is the World Bank interested in peer-to-peer accommodation? It is said that it can help to eliminate poverty, boost shared prosperity, and also its contributions for income generation for a broader group of people, in particular women, which I'll be looking at tomorrow. So in Jamaica, just to put things into perspective, there is over 5,000 active listings on Airbnb in Jamaica, 7,600 in total. So that's a recent statistics that's coming from Airbnb. So we have 7,600 hosts, 5,000 active, which means they're actually getting bookings and doing well. TripAdvisor Rentals also has 2,300 listings. HomeAway has 950 listings, and Booking.com has 1,124. So it's not just Airbnb, but it's just that Airbnb is one of the platforms that has seen the most growth throughout the years.
Thanks for staying with us for coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business Conference. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Every day you wake up, you have another opportunity to make this little island better, safer, a place where we all can be proud to call home. It's time we all recognize that every little thing we do has an impact on the Jamaica we live in now and the country we're leaving for our children. So promise me this, promise yourself this: no more will we tolerate criminals, even if it's our relatives. Tell them they're doing something wrong. Tell them to stop. Tell them no more robbing our children of the Jamaica they deserve. Tell them no more crime.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands.
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Lush vegetation, cascading waterfalls, mysterious caves, all make for an ideal outdoor experience. And on this episode of Chill Spot, we'll get to experience all that and more as we visit Island Gully Falls, formerly known as Blue Hole, one of Jamaica's best kept secrets. Carla Hollingsworth, Export Marketing Manager at Pepsi Cola Jamaica, will tell us all about why this hidden treasure is her ultimate chill spot. So don't go anywhere, lots of fun and adventure coming your way. Situated in the Garden Parish of St. Anne, Island Gully Falls is the perfect retreat from the hustle and bustle of city life. Something I kind of feel like I need. So let's head inside and meet with Carla because I'm really excited to get this adventure started. Hi Carla.
Hi Candy, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'd like to introduce you to Monique Walcott.
Hi, Monique.
And Uncle Wayne.
Hi, Uncle Wayne.
Island Gully Falls.
Wow, it's really fabulous. How was the drive up?
Fabulous.
A little rough at the end, but it was nice.
Yeah, but the highway.
And scenic. And scenic.
As usual, Jamaica.
An authentic experience to get to an authentic venue.
I like the way you said that. So Monique, talk to us a little bit about Island Gully Falls. What can people expect when they come up here?
Well, the property in and of itself speaks to what you can expect. You're on the island and it's a falls and it is a hidden gem. This property lends to just exploring and enjoying Jamaica in its most authentic form. It's getting away from the hustle and bustle of what is out there, the commercialization of other tours and adventure, and really coming to enjoy Jamaica in its truest form, which is to enjoy the natural setting. So if you notice all the greenery or benches, everything lends to what is naturally found on the premises
And
itself.
authentic, I really like that. So Uncle Wayne, what can people do when they come up here? What kind of activities are up here?
Well, Island Gully Falls offer a more adventurous type of activity, as you can see.
So I can jump off the cliffs?
Oh yes, really.
I really don't know if I'm into that.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Guided jumping off the cliff, might I add?
Right.
Yes. The visitors that we have that come to this property look forward for the rustic appearance of the property. They also like the people type activity that is done here, and that is what we are trying to promote here. A little different from everywhere else.
Right. What are we going to be doing today? Let me ask you that.
All right, let me tell you what I do when I get here. First of all, I have to go by the falls and get the massage on my back
Yes.
because I'm so stressed out when I'm in Kingston. So I come here and it's like my total chill spot.
Carla, I think the truth is, as you arrive, the first thing you do is to take a photo by the cascade and also
Oh yes, that's true.
because you always post it on Instagram.
That's true, that's true. And then I watch the guys, the tour guys do their amazing dive.
And flips and stuff,
flips.
yes.
I think it should be the Olympics, so seriously. Then I get the massage, and after the massage, I actually go and I climb the falls and I dive off the falls. Then I swim on the stream and go to the tube, the rope.
The rope swinging.
The rope swinging.
Which she's very good at, might I add.
I hope I'm good today.
So Carla, how often do you come out here?
Let me tell you something. I come out here, I've been here at least over 10 times in the past 2 years. It's my I don't like the sea as much because the salt water. It's my love river.
Yeah.
And I always say, your grandmother say you must go to a river and wash off everything.
Wash off the salt.
This is the place for it, and the temperature is amazing. Kingston is so hot.
Yes.
So especially this summer, I came here
Oh
and
my
I went
God.
to the water and I just.
Nice and coolie.
Oh my God, nice and cool. And the tour guides here are amazing people. So it's just my chill spot, literally.
Well, I'm excited to know a little bit more about this property, Carla. So let's go. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you and enjoy the property.
I am
and enjoy
sure I
climbing
will.
the falls.
I'm sure I will.
All right.
Coming up.
Coming to this place makes me feel that I actually have time for myself because I'm able to clear my mind. So when I go back into Kingston, I'm ready for another month or two at work full charge. So this place is like my zen.
We are back with another exciting, innovative, and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
As a teacher for over 8 years, we need to realize that the children are our future. We need to love them, appreciate and respect our children. No more violence against children. No more!
Well, I must say this is a fabulous property. Really, really beautiful, lush and pretty.
I must agree. It's
So
very-
who would you say this kind of thing appeals to?
This property, I think, appeals to anybody that wants a non-commercial Jamaican kind of attraction. The place where you won't find too many people hustling and bustling you, and a place where you can get nice ecotourism because the place is so rustic, so natural, and so pure. Jamaica at its finest to me.
So talk to us a little bit about your job. What is it about it that makes this kind of escape appealing for you?
Well, first of all, I work, my job is like 24/7. Being the export marketing manager at Pepsi-Cola Jamaica, I have to be talking to different people from different markets, and sometimes you don't have time for yourself. And coming to this place makes me feel that I actually have time for myself. Right. I'm able to come here, get a massage, go in the cool water, jump off of the cliff, and it makes me feel at home and like peace, and it actually helps my creativity because I'm able to clear my mind. So when I go back into Kingston, I'm ready for another month or two at work full charge. So this place is like my zen, if you may call it so.
And what exactly is an export marketing manager? What do you do?
Okay, well, first of all, export marketing manager role at Pepsi-Cola Jamaica is responsible for all the brands that we export outside of Jamaica. So the Jamaican brands like Ting, D&G, Old Jamaica, and or other brands in other markets. So for example, Whittaker from Ecuador, we have Grapete in Guatemala, and different brands.
So it's not just Pepsi?
No, it's not just Pepsi. So for example, when you see Ting in the UK or in the US, it comes from here in Jamaica, because we make our money not only locally but internationally. And Ting, D&G have been brands from like 19 forever, exactly. My job is to market these brands outside of Jamaica. So we just launched our new campaign with Casey Fennell in New York. Yes, and we're actually going to the UK at the end of this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So it's getting the brand out there because it's a Jamaican thing. Jamaica we look a bit taller, but our brands are so powerful, not only in Jamaica but outside of Jamaica. So that's my role, to bring it to the world.
And would you say you have a typical 9 to 5? What's a typical day like for you?
Oh no, I definitely don't have a 9 to 5 job. My job is 24/7 because, for example, if I'm talking to my customers in the UK, I have to be up 6 hours ahead. If I'm talking to distributors in South America, I have to wake up probably, they're 2 hours behind depending on the time zone. If I'm talking to people in the US, so it's like, it's not a 9 to 5 job. I work 7 days a week and I'm always traveling. Every month I'm away. So it's a very rewarding job, but it's it's a job where you need to, sometimes come together, get your zen, and then go back again on the road.
And what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
The challenging part of my job is probably getting into like a routine. I don't have a routine. So for example, like I like to work out. So, I'll be working out for a month straight, and then I say, okay, my boss says, Carla, you need to go here. And I'll be gone for a week, and then when I come back, I have to get back into the
routine.
Yeah, so there's no set routines. I can't plan so far ahead with my friends or whatever, because I never know when I have to get up and go. Exactly.
And then similarly, what would be your most favorite part of your job?
My most favorite part is when non-Jamaicans consume our beverages. It's the most wonderful thing to see somebody who is not Jamaican, has never been to Jamaica, but they know what a Ting is, what an Old Jamaica ginger berries, or they know what a D&G flavored soda is. It's amazing. It makes me feel so proud to be Jamaican.
How did you get started in the industry?
Well, I want to tell you, I have a friend of mine that works at Digicel, Shelly Kurana, and she got me my first job, corporate Jamaica job in marketing there. And I proved myself to Shelly and Digicel, and then from then on, other people saw me in different, companies. Carlo Redwood hired me at Pepsi, Catherine Goodall hired me at Pepsi, and since I've been at Pepsi, I've been just moving up.
Growing in your role.
Growing, because I love marketing. Marketing is my life.
That's your passion.
Oh gosh, it's my passion for sure.
And how do you avoid stress? Is there anything else other than coming to the fabulous Island Gully Falls that you do to avoid burnout?
Oh, definitely sports. I have been a swimmer all my life, so I still swim, play water polo. I picked up pole dancing at Chai Studios, and I do.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Let's rewind a little bit. Pole dancing.
Yes. Let me tell you something.
This is for a workout.
Let me tell you, it's the best workout to build your core and your upper body strength. It's the best, and Chai Studios. Let me tell you.
So will you be demonstrating any of that posture?
If I find something sturdy enough to hold me, because I'm a little bit thick. Yes, that's what I do, sports, and I do cross fitness training at Spire Studios also. So that's what keeps me sane.
And what would you say is your secret to success?
Secret to success is actually living your dream, living your passion. If you don't love what you're doing, why do it at all?
Right.
You can't be doing a 9 to 5 job and every day you wake up and you're complaining. If you're complaining and you're not doing anything about
Find a new job.
It's a problem. So, I have a wonderful boss, Agustin Perez. He gave me this opportunity and he believes in me. He actually lets me do my personal business. I do swimsuits also on the side. I design swimsuits. Right. And you never find a boss like that who lets you balance 9 to 5 or 24/7 with a personal business. Right. Because Carla, be you, go out there. You're young, flourish, live your dream. So that's the key to success. Be passionate about what you do and live your dream and don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because it's a lie, because you can do it.
So let's talk a little bit about your swimsuit line. Did you have any challenges in starting up something like that?
Let me tell you something. Starting it up, I don't think I had challenges starting it up. I had challenges in it, because sometimes, because again, I started this business with passion. Working in Jamaica, sometimes we're a little lazy, you know. So some of the laborers sometimes not to
push them a little bit.
A little, you know, push them a lot, you know. So I mean, that's my challenge now. But my customers are the greatest, because I do swimsuits for curvy ladies. I mean, see, and I'm actually going to wear one of my swimsuits today.
Okay.
And let me tell you something, curvy ladies, I mean, they want to show their stuff. So what a better way to do than make swimsuits that fit their curves.
So you're not making none for me?
You have curves, Candy, so yes,
yeah,
I do. You do. I have the large curves and you have the medium curves, okay? But of course I do. I make for all ladies, and I mean, it's been wonderful. So I try to balance my 9 to 5 with this also.
And then, so that means you kind of have 2 jobs. Yes. How important is that kind of work-life balance?
Candy, I'm not married, I don't have children. This is the only reason I can do this. Because let me tell you, if I was married and I had children, I don't know if I could do this.
Right.
I don't know. So let's say do these things while you're young. So I'm doing this.
You don't have kids.
Yeah, because I want to retire early. I want to retire by 40, so I can probably be like a man and having a child at 50. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
What would you say are your personal or professional goals for the future?
My professional goal is actually to be probably more business development for our export brands, and not only the Jamaican brands, but the other brands that we do export at Pepsi Cola Jamaica. And personal goals, I want to expand my swimsuit business more. You know, I want to sit on the runway, New York Fashion Week, London, Paris. So I want my brand to be insatiable, you know what I mean?
I love that.
Yes.
So do you have a mentor, Carlo?
Well, I have a couple. I mean, from different stages in my marketing career. My first mentor was Zachary Harding when I used to work at Grace Kennedy Remittance back in the day. And Harry Smith at Digicel, one of my greatest mentors. And my boss now, Augustine Perez, is definitely my mentors in marketing professionals.
And how would you say that has helped you in your career?
It has helped me because I have go-to persons. Because, you know, this role was not just created. It's an evolving cycle. And there are people who did it before you, so don't reinvent the wheel. Learn from them. Right. And when you learn from them, you're able to make your job, you know, a little better. You will probably make the same mistakes and they can guide you accordingly, because we young people have to learn from other people so that we can get bigger and better.
Absolutely. And if they pave the way, why not?
Exactly.
So how do we get this tour started? Where do we go?
Well, put on your swimsuit first and then we're going to start. All right?
Let's go.
All right.
Coming up. What would you say to women who kind of settle in their careers or who are kind of complacent where they are?
I would say to them, wake up, smell the coffee, and remember, YOLO. You only live once. You want to be able to live your dream, live your passion. You don't want to have a life of regrets.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands.
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
So talk to us about where and how you were raised. What was your childhood like?
Well, my childhood, what I can remember of it, it was very fun. I grew up with my mom before she passed, and my dad, and my brother, and my sister. My parents believed in education, so, went to different schools, and believed in a balanced life, so I did lots of sports. So this was the swimming, the piano.
Oh, yes?
Yes, we
did piano together.
Oh my God, Mrs. Acosta.
Yes.
And did dance, and it's just, very balanced childhood. Church on Sundays. I actually lived a very hearty childhood. I had fun growing up as a child.
And what about schools? What schools you attended?
I went to Mona Preco. Went to Immaculate Conception High School.
No, next.
And then I went to St. Andrew High School for girls. Went to college in Virginia, Randolph Macon Women's College.
So wait, all female high school and then all female college?
Yes, this is why I'm, pro-women, very woman-oriented, And then I went to grad school in Boston at Emerson College.
So have you always had this sort of outdoorsy thing about you from you've been a child?
Let me tell you, yes, because my parents, I said with sports, and then with our swim team or swim clubs, we used to go, different places across Jamaica. So from then I appreciated the love. And actually, Candy, what really made me love Jamaica is when I went abroad to school and saw how many people knew about Jamaica.
The response. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. It's when you go when you talk to like tourists and they have been to more places than you, it's a problem. So I made a point of duty to come when I came back to Jamaica to say, okay, let me go to the non-commercial spots and I'm going to discover my island. And so when anybody comes to Jamaica, I can be their tour guide because I know Jamaica.
Right.
Because I'm a Jamaican.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your sense of style. How would you describe it?
I am not the ordinary. I don't follow trends. I create my own trends. I find things that fit my body. Because I'm curvy, so I find things that fit my curves. I love animal prints. I love prints, yes. I love animal prints. And I like a lot of bodycon dresses. And I like European fashion, so I tend to shop at stores like Zara, River Island and stuff like that.
Okay.
I love Jamaican stuff also.
Right.
Anything that fits my body. So once it can fit me, I'm in it too.
And what about dressing for the office? What tip would you give us about dressing for the office?
My office tip, oh my gosh. I don't think I follow the rules. I express, because I'm a marketer, I'm not a suit girl at all. I'm more dresses. So I tend to go, dresses that fit my, my shape, but still very professional. And then sometimes where I just want to be me, so I, wear a lot of printed pants. So I have animal print pants, peacock pants.
Wow.
I just think I express my personality. And Pepsi is one of those companies that they don't necessarily instill you wearing a suit. I don't work in a bank, so I don't need to be in a black suit every day or anything like that. So office dressing to me would be comfortable.
What would be the ideal qualities you'd want in a partner?
I'm very complex. I'm not an ordinary girl, so somebody who understands me and support me. Because again, when you're a strong black woman, you know, they'll say, oh Lord, she bossy, she this and she that. No. Somebody supports and understands me so that we can, you know, live harmoniously.
Right, and they're not intimidated.
No, not intimidated. Because I may come across intimidated, but I'm really not that intimidated.
Gem on the inside.
Yes, high five for that.
How would you say your confidence or that same personality that you talk about, being strong-willed, has impacted your success?
It allows me to be confident in my work because, I mean, actually Jamaica, we're very lucky to be in an island that actually appreciates women. Lots of women are in high-powered roles in Jamaica. I mean, because our Prime Minister, with that level of confidence, you're able to prove to the working world that you can do it no matter what you put your mind to.
And what would you say is one thing that people don't know about you?
I was born in Trinidad and Tobago.
Really?
Yes.
So you're Trini by heart?
Trini, so I call myself Trini Maker. Yes,
I love Trini. So.
Yes, I know. Carnival by Candy.
What would you say to women who kind of settle in their careers or who are kind of complacent where they are?
I would say to them, wake up, smell the coffee, and remember, YOLO. You only live once. So you don't want to die tomorrow and you are just a figment of someone's imagination. You want to leave a legacy behind. And if you're settling and you're being complacent, what legacy are you creating? You want to be able to be remembered when you go. You know, Carla did this, Candy did this, you know. You want to be able to live your dream, live your passion. You don't want to have a life of regrets. If you think of something you want to do, just get up and do it. You're going to have struggles, but you know, nothing that comes too easy in life is ever good. You have to work for it. So, I mean, women out there, you only live once. Do it. Just do it.
Well, I really love that, Carla, and I'm definitely a woman power type of person too, so
high five.
Love it. But on that note, I'm kind of thirsty. Yes. Are you thirsty?
Oh yes, I want something.
Nice plum, Carla.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thirsty, well thirsty.
Tell you.
Whew. Yeah, you hit the spot, son, I swear. Cheers for a good evening.
Definitely.
Island Gully Falls. Dion to the world.
It's a good day.
Big up yourself here.
Not only got to observe the wonders of nature, but we got to experience it in all its glory here at Island Gully Falls. And as was expected, I had an amazing time doing it all with Carla Hollingsworth, Export Marketing Manager at Pepsi Cola Jamaica. Until next time, I'm Candy for Chill Spot. Bye!
Ready? Alright, start by
action.
Hold on.
Too much when I say action when it's action time. She a point, you have to say 3, 2, 1, you must say stand by. Situated in the garden.
Just want to go in the water. In the water, I just want to go in.
Ready. Wait, I have to burp. No, I never come. Let's go. Today we not only got to explore. Ready? Okay, and working out. Yeah, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, ready? Never I roll the whole time, I waste the foot.
Am I waste the flame?
Yeah, waste the flame.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On point. Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about home sweet home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
Jamaican art is just as diverse and multifaceted as its people. It inspires and educates, entertains and stimulates, while answering important questions about Jamaican culture and what it means to be Jamaican. The works of legends like Capo and Manley, as well as newcomers alike, sell for thousands all over the world. But after the paint dries and the marble is polished, how do you go about the business of your art? Today, we take a look at Jamaicans' leading and cutting-edge institutions taking charge of the business end of the paintbrush and making priceless beauty profitable for Jamaica and Jamaican artists. The chaos of creativity meets the stricture of structure on Business Access TV's Cameo. The National Gallery, fresh off a successful staging of the 2014 Jamaica Biennial, is now on a new dynamic path, led by Executive Director Dr. Verlee Pupe. When was the National Gallery established and why?
The National Gallery was established in 1974 because it was recognized that there was a need for a national art museum. The Jamaican art movement had been growing exponentially over the years, and it was felt that there was a need for a specialized institution that would provide exposure, documentation, collection of art, and so forth. So that was the reason why it was established at the time.
Tell me about the business model of the National Gallery.
Right. Well, we are, as a public cultural institution, we are a non-profit entity. We are a division of the Institute of Jamaica and part of the Ministry of Youth and Culture. We are a public art museum. We are publicly funded in that sense that our salaries, the building, utilities, basic operations are funded from the public purse, from taxpayers' funds, but we also fund our activities from other sources. That includes our own business activities, I mean the admission fees, store fees, the gift and coffee shop, fundraising events and so on. We also approach various funders, whether it is corporate sponsors, donor agencies and so on, for funding, usually for specific projects, which can be exhibitions, which can be acquisitions, education programs, you know, the whole spectrum of activities that we have.
At this point in time, what is the National Gallery's functional purpose?
Right. Well, the National Gallery of Jamaica is Jamaica's National Art Museum. It has a comprehensive collection of mostly Jamaican art. It has a few other things too. And that collection provides an overview from pre-Columbian, from the Taino to the present day. So it really covers the entire historical spectrum, and also a very broad spectrum in terms of the various media, various themes, various artistic approaches, and so on. In addition to that, we also have regular exhibitions. Well, we have permanent exhibitions that show mainly selections from our collection. But we also have temporary exhibitions. We typically have about 4 exhibitions per year, and those explore usually various aspects of Jamaican art, sometimes also other art. Sometimes we also host overseas exhibitions. For instance, we are currently in discussion about the Haitian art exhibition, which hopefully we will have next year. We also have a branch in Montego Bay, National Gallery West, which opened last year. So we have been growing, and we do now have that representation in Western Jamaica.
How do you acquire the artwork that you have here?
Right, well, a lot of the artworks that we have in our collection are acquired by donation, either by collectors, by artists themselves sometimes. We have never really gotten a lot of capital support for the acquisition of artworks, so we have to find other sources. We have to find other ways of developing our collection. So donations is a major aspect of that. We also, when we find a work of art that we feel needs to be part of our collection, we may try to find sponsors for it, we may try to find a grant for it, and so forth. So it really is a mixture, you know, but the whole idea is that our collection should provide an encyclopedic overview of Jamaican art history. So any decision we make about what we buy is made with that in mind.
What are some day-to-day challenges that you face operating the National Gallery?
Oh, there are many, you know. Well, of course, I would say the main challenge, of course, is funding. You know, we operate in an environment of fiscal austerity. So, of course, that means that we have to be very careful in terms of how we spend money, and also we cannot expect for everything that we do to be paid with taxpayers' money. I think we've done a pretty good job with that. In fact, our exhibitions are basically funded off budget. I mean, we find other sources of funding for them. So funding is a major challenge. What we also try to do is to get the best possible value for money. So we work compared to other museums very cheaply. I mean, some of my colleagues laugh when overseas laugh when I tell them how little money we spend on some of our major exhibitions. Also, we're operating here from a building which was originally seen as a temporary home for the National Gallery. So a lot of our facilities are really not quite up to standard and are not as flexible as we would like them to be to really serve the purposes of a modern museum. And that is in fact one of the big projects that we will be working on over the next few years, is to bring this building up to international standards for art museums.
Tell me about some successes of the National Gallery.
Well, the biennial, the 2014 biennial, which was held at 3 locations, which was held here at Devon House and at National Gallery West, and which also had a project on the streets of Kingston, I think was overwhelmingly successful, and I think the response to it was really positive. So we really saw a level of engagement from audiences, from artists and others that we had not seen before with the exhibitions we have had. National Gallery West itself, you know, a lot of people outside of Kingston keep reminding us that Kingston is not Jamaica. There's a lot more out there, and the cultural institutions in Jamaica have tended to be very Kingston focused. So to be able to spread our wings to Montego Bay, to operate from there, has been a very interesting experience for us, and a very satisfying experience. And what we focus on there is both local and tourist audiences. Other success as well, the exhibition which just opened on Sunday, Explorations 3, 7 women artists. I mean, rarely in my career as a curator have I seen such a positive response to an exhibition at the exhibition opening. You know, the vibe, to use the local word, really was extraordinary. You know, and that is very satisfying, you know, because when you work on an exhibition, it is hard work, it can be very challenging, long hours, many challenges along the way, but then to see that public response to what you have done, I mean, that really is extraordinary. Mm-hmm.
So you've been charting a new path for the National Gallery. Tell me about that and why.
Right, well, as I said earlier on, I mean, one of our purposes is really to reach the broadest possible audiences for Jamaican art. And to do that, you really have to make sure that what you present is engaging, that you do it in a way that will reach broadest possible audiences. And there are all sorts of strategies and techniques that you can follow for that. So we have been changing our curatorial practice here at the National Gallery to do just that, to reach broader audiences, to speak to more diverse audiences, because the last thing you want is for your National Gallery to be an elitist institution. You want it to reach the widest possible range of the Jamaican and other audiences.
What is one thing that you would love for the general public to know about the National Gallery that they don't know?
Right. Well, I think really my main thing is really that the National Gallery is for everybody. It's not just for a particular set of people or people with particular interests. It has something to offer to every person in Jamaica and beyond. And coming to the National Gallery is not a chore. You know, if you come here for exhibition openings for our last Sundays, it's a fun experience. You know, it's an engaging and fun experience. And if you do so, you will almost certainly come back.
Up next, O'Neill Lawrence talks to us about the curation process.
All human life is precious. Respect life. No more senseless killing. No more.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Explorations 3, 7 Women Artists is the gallery's newest exhibition. Lead curator O'Neill Lawrence took us on a tour and told us about how much work went into an exhibit of this scale. So how many people and how long does it take to put together an exhibition like this one here?
Well, in terms of people, it's really the entire National Gallery team. I mean, normally, you know, curators may speak about the curatorial department, which right now stands at 7 people, but it's our accounts department, our security guards, our registrar, our executive director. So it's about, you could say, the entire National Gallery staff, which is 30 plus. In terms of how long it takes to put on something, an exhibition like this, that's several months. I mean, it starts, we normally plan our exhibitions about 2 years in advance. This exhibition, however, was inspired by trends that we saw in our last exhibition, the 2014 biennial, and we started planning that sometime around January. So now we're in June now, so it's almost, in terms of planning and getting to it, about 4 to 5 months.
So take us through that 4 to 5 month journey of the curating process.
Well, the first thing really is a concept. Really, it starts off with brainstorming. The entire team gets together, specifically the curatorial department gets together, and we really try to see what we thought of as something significant coming out of, as a trend really, coming out of the last exhibition, the biennial. We noticed that there was a particularly strong showing from some of the female artists. And it's not to say that this is something particularly new, but it had a particular resonance, and we decided to pursue several artists who we thought had not necessarily gotten a lot of attention. These were mid-career artists, not emerging, people who had been practicing for a while. And then we just decided that we would make a selection and then present a body of work to show, you know, a cohesive statement for each of them. There's the meeting with the artists, there's studio visits, which took place over the initial stages, finding works, getting loans for some of the things that were sold by particular artists, And of course, there was the most dramatic thing that quite a few of the artists were creating work specifically for this exhibition. There's the production of the catalog, the advertising, all those things come together. I mean, that's really what happens in the beginning stages, in the mid stages, and then of course the installation process, which took several weeks, depending on the nature of the work. Some were much more complicated to install. I mean, the one that we're in front of now includes a concrete beam that had to be suspended from our ceiling. Some of the works are installations, so the artists themselves had to come in. So I guess that's essentially the process.
How important is the National Gallery to helping these artists to make a profit?
Well, realistically, we are not a commercial gallery, so that is not one of our primary concerns. In terms of what happens outside of the space and what happens with these artists in terms of their work, we are providing a platform and a space for their work to be displayed. If someone is interested in, purchasing something from an artist, then really the only role we would play is putting two parties together. And I guess it can significantly help, especially if someone has, the prestige, I guess, of having presented work in the National Gallery.
So what would be your advice to a young artist who would like to be featured here?
Well, the thing I would say is to produce work, promote yourself, because in this day and age, having a website, having a Facebook presence, Twitter, Instagram, those are the things that get your images, get your work out there. We have exhibitions like the Jamaica Biennial that it has an invited portion, or it had an invited portion where artists could submit work. So really what it is really looking out for exhibition opportunities, creating some exhibition opportunities, because a lot of young artists are no longer looking for gallery spaces specifically, they're creating their own spaces. And the thing is, when you are promoting yourself in that way, putting your work out there, you will come on our radar. And if we have a show that you fit in, then you most likely will be approached for that.
Up next, Deborah Anzinger talks to us about the NLS space.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
On the other end of the spectrum, you have the quaint and freshly minted NLS. Focusing on emerging artists, they are clear about their mission to take Jamaican audiences into uncharted visual territory. So what does NLS stand for?
New Local Space. Officially, that's what we're registered as, but when the organization started, we wanted to just be known as NLS, and it would be the short for several possible interpretations and meanings, such as Natty's loquacious stylings. We had a long list of things, and then finally we had to get the name registered because we were really doing business. So we said, okay, well, what comes to the actual core of what the organization means, and has enough of is open enough in terms of what it could mean that we could continue to evolve as an organization. So New Local Space we felt really captured the spirit, which is contemporary, and it provides a platform for artists, and the space not only functions as a physical space, but it also functions as a space in terms of the World Wide Web, and we also function as a space that engages other spaces outside of Jamaica.
How did NLS come about?
It came about primarily as me being an artist. So I was moving back to Jamaica 3 years ago, and I had an art practice in Washington, D.C. So I was working in my studio there, and then I was also managing a small nonprofit gallery there as well. And moving back to Jamaica, there wasn't, I couldn't access what the contemporary art space was like here. You know, there was no way to actually see what it was like if there was really an actual contemporary art scene. So I wanted to create a space that could really articulate that. So as a business, I want to say first that we actually function primarily as a non-commercial space. So we are a non-commercial space that has commercial activities, right? Because we have to have a revenue. Our primary focus is not one that is commercial in terms of building community, in terms of providing a platform for artists for the public to know more about artist practice. But in terms of commercial, we have an artist residency program. Artists apply to that program, and in order to have as much of a reach to artists that we believe to be making great work, we do not want a situation where artists are actually paying to come and do their residencies. So we preferred to be more discerning about artists that we were choosing and then fundraise for that artist.
When setting up a space like NLS, what kind of challenges do you face?
Well, there are a lot of challenges, of course, doing business period in Jamaica. But as when you're sort of creating a new market, if you really think about the nature of the space, it's a new market. We're actually the ones creating a new market. So a lot goes into that, right? You have to educate the public. So everything that you do has to have a component, a very open component where you're not afraid to answer questions that people might have. Even as somebody who's been in the field for as long as I have, even if the answers may seem obvious, you have to be there to just answer the questions.
Creative industry locally is usually undermined. People don't take it very seriously. What challenges on an everyday basis do you have because of that while trying to operate your NLS?
You know, I'd have to look back. It's a little bit hard to remember that, but I will say no, that I really, in terms of having people take us seriously, we don't really have that challenge as much anymore. I mean, we just kind of accept that there are certain things that other spaces have that we just don't have, which is public funding, grants for contemporary arts, programming grants for art spaces. These are things that we just don't have in Jamaica, but it's something that we're so used to now, and you have to just be kind of nimble as an organization with your business model, while still staying focused on what it is that you hold as, you know, the essential component and essential mission of your organization. That's something I believe a lot of businesses lose focus and lose sight of that, and that's something that we prefer to stay small and stay in focus rather than just get kind of too crazy with our business model. So we set up a program where we will do the fundraising, so crowdfunding for the artists. Once they applied and they got into the program, then the agreement is that we'll do the fundraising, and we use Kickstarter to do that. So we felt, and what the assets of Kickstarter for us was that we could have an archive of all the successful projects that we had funded on the platform, and so that people could look on that and then look at our track record. So in that sense, the general public gets to function somewhat as an investor, kind of like an angel investor in some ways, but they do get a gift in return, a small gift in return of art. And we like to give people positive reinforcement for getting involved with contemporary art. So by default, they're now becoming an art collector.
One piece can go for around how much? For those people who don't know, maybe we're talking 2.6 or maybe we're talking 26,000.
Right. So well, as you know, or as a lot of people know, there's actually no cap on how much art can sell for. So it's I mean, you could say that about anything in the world, really, but contemporary art and art in general is notorious for not having a cap. On another hand, we have exhibitions locally and we have exhibitions abroad, and that work is also for sale. So while there might be long stretches where we're not selling artwork because the artist is in the space making work, ultimately, when we do have an exhibition, sometimes that exhibition has saleable work. Sometimes it's an installation-based exhibition, and of course the work is not for sale technically, but again, sometimes the work is for sale.
Garfield Morgan is the latest artist in studio at the NLS space. Both his career and his installation are a work in progress. We spoke to him about his plans and his process. So tell me what's happening here.
Okay, so this is an installation, title of which is the TARP project. How this originated is that I actually go into the Coronation Market and I exchange tarpaulin with the vendors on the immediate outskirts of the Coronation Market. So they give me their old worn tarp, I give them a brand new one, and I take that old tarp and I incorporate it into my work. This now is an installation that will involve me using various types of tarp, different nuances, different colors, to create this installation. And really it's about people, it's about real people. It doesn't get any more real than the Coronation Market, really.
Let's say I wanted to do my own little installation, right? How much does something like this cost me?
Well, I was able to actually erect much of the structure myself. And not every artist who does an installation actually do the work himself. So that was able to cut some of my costs. So essentially, as far as costs go, it's really the lumber, the tarpaulin, and my time, which, as far as building a career goes, nobody's really gonna purchase this installation to put in their living room, or at least I don't know of any such person. So basically, this is about getting the name out there. This is about putting yourself out there so people will know you. And of course, the more people know you and are familiar with your work, then the more inclined you are to not just get sales, but to get commissions for work to be done.
Outside of providing you a studio space, how else does NLS help you as a contemporary artist?
Okay, that's a very interesting question because I actually can't think of another space in Jamaica where I could have done something like this.
Right.
And it is instructive to know that I was here 4 months ago, and that's when I first started to investigate the tarpaulin project. And here it is that I'm here again doing an installation. Now, the first time I was here, the tarpaulin was incorporated into two-dimensional work, and here it is that I've gone installation, three-dimensional, where you actually get into the space and feel the dynamics of how the space works. I teach at a tertiary institution. I do paintings on canvas. I have gallery openings in different galleries where I sell work. So there are several things that I do. I apply for grants. Part of this is to create a portfolio to apply for international residencies. And of course, you know that NLS is affiliated with international institutions. So part of it is side-eyeing those opportunities, which definitely will unfold as time goes on.
What else can be done to help those people who want to get into, contemporary art, who want to become artists in Jamaica, in the Jamaican space?
I think the onus is on them first and foremost to do the research, to think about whether this is really what you want to do. How serious are you? Because passion is good, but it takes more than passion. Because really, you're promoting a brand, and in order to do this, there are certain specific ways to go about it. You're building a career. You need to have your name out there. Part of being at NLS for me is to get my name into areas outside of Jamaica that traditionally, on my own, I probably would not have been able to do. So it's a lot of things to do, a lot of research to do, and part of the thing is attend gallery shows, see what artists are doing, get into that sphere of places where artists go and interact, listen to them, talk to them, engage them, go to exhibitions, know what's happening. Internationally, things are happening. The internet is there for us to learn from, see what is happening, and engage people, both here in Jamaica and all over the world. We have the tools to do that.
I do have a dream, and I know you have a dream, that we can make Jamaica the place of choice for you to choose to live, to work, to do business.
We are going for the Jamaica we want. Making steady progress to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in our National Development Plan, Vision 2030 Jamaica. We have teamed up with valued partners, working through strong institutions to reduce inequalities in our society. We commit to being responsible in our production and consumption, ensuring we build sustainable communities in harmony with nature. Jamaica is making significant strides in providing quality, lifelong education for all, enabling our people to be engaged in decent work to drive economic growth, equipping men and women with the skills to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industry, foster innovation, and utilize new technologies. Urgent action is being taken to manage natural resources responsibly, protecting clean water sources, ensuring access to water and sanitation for all, diversifying to alternative energy sources, conserving our environment and sustaining life below water and on land. Jamaica is making moves to ensure healthy lifestyles for the well-being of our people. We're promoting sustainable agriculture to achieve food security, improve nutrition, and end extreme hunger, putting in the work to end poverty in all its